Usually.
Here we go. K-Styles, you want to introduce us?
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Atlanta Falcon Nation, what it do? Like I said, it's your Atlanta Falcon Nation boys here. Me, the sixth man, just K Styles. And to my stage left, we got Mr. Matt, Mike, Sports, mad scientist.
Everybody think I'm a devil worshiper when I do that.
They got the hook 'em horns on.
That's why I do it.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest here tonight. I'm going to let him go ahead and introduce himself. What you got for me, man?
Thanks, guys. I'm Matt Karoly. You can find me on Twitter at Matt Karoly, MattKaroly. I've been covering the Falcons since that 2016 Super Bowl season. Various outlets. Blogging Dirty is where I started. Then I transitioned over to Riseup Reader. Rest in peace, Riseup Reader, the now defunct Riseup Reader. And then for a season or two, me and Aaron Freeman, I'm sure everyone knows Aaron Freeman, we chopped it up on Falcon Central Radio on YouTube every Tuesday night. And now I'm just a free agent, kind of enjoying coming on podcasts like this here and just, talking about your hometown Atlanta Falcons. So it's good to be here, guys. Thanks again for having me.
Well, I'll say this. Matt and Aaron are, when I first got into this, 2016, 17, when I really got into things, into podcasting and whatnot. These guys, Aaron Freeman and Matt Karoly, are the ones that kind of I pattern, quote pattern my game afterwards. If you guys don't know who they are, I suggest you go to Twitter tonight. All right, please. He is the best numbers guy when it comes down to salary cap and just Matt Ryan, just the stats. Don't shake your head. You know it's true. You know you're the best. Go ahead and brag. This is a show.
I'd love to come back every week if I'm going to get intros like this. This is great. I appreciate that, Mike. Yeah, I mean that's what I love to do. I love to talk about not only just the Falcons, but I love the numbers aspect of it, and kind of prided myself in that. And I saw that there's kind of a need for someone to talk about the salary cap because I can understand it's very confusing at times. So I figured. Take my accounting background, take my love for the Atlanta Falcons and kind of mesh the two and help people out, kind of figure out, especially around this time of the year. Everyone knows that it's been talked about enough. The Falcons are not in the greatest of salary cap positions, but there is ways to maneuver it. And I'm sure we'll get into it a bit later today on how the Falcons can be somewhat, they're not going to be big spenders. But they can certainly round out this roster, with some value signings.
So, with that being said, I guess we'll get into the questions. This is, like I said, this is the state of the Falcons in the eyes of Matt Karoly, and we're going to get to the first question that we have for you. We're going to go rewind it back a bit. The hire of Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot. Which do you want? Which guy do you want to take first? Arthur Smith.
Let me take Arthur Smith because I'll preface by saying the GMs are tougher to evaluate. I feel like because there's not as much to go off of, especially when a lot of these guys that rise up through the ranks are kind of in the backgrounds and they're not like they're doing the dirty work that you don't really see. Out there on the field or on Sundays. But with a guy like Arthur Smith and with the head coaches, they're former coordinators. You're kind of seeing the work that they do on the field. And with Arthur Smith, from the moment, I knew that the Falcons were eventually going to need a head coach, whether it was last season, which I thought that they should have done it last year, or this year. Arthur Smith was a guy I identified very early on, really caught my eye during that 2019 season because the guy kind of came out of nowhere. Like, you think about it, Arthur Smith, generic name. It's like, is he even real? Where did he come from? And the guy just kind of rose up from a quality control coach in Tennessee, then became a position coach at tight end, and then became offensive coordinator. And for 2 years, he really elevated that Tennessee Titans offense. And, turned around Ryan Tannehill's career, who he hit rock bottom, had to come play on a, near veteran minimum type deal as a backup. And, that he parlayed that into, being a $30 million a year quarterback. And a lot of the reason why is Arthur Smith. And, Arthur Smith, I think there's two things that Arthur Smith's going to bring to Atlanta that made me see him as one of the most ideal fits of the coaching candidates. Play action, which if you're not using play action today in the NFL, you're doing it wrong. And that was the thing with Dirk Cutter, is just like, he didn't do it enough.
Throw the ball over 5.
And so Arthur Smith, I believe I tweeted it out last month, he ran play action on like 38% of snaps as opposed to Dirk Cutter, who was in the 20s. So, look, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, play action.
Yeah.
Give it to me right now. Inject it into my veins right now. So, we're going to get that from him. And then we're also going to get – he's going to institute a run game. Now, yes, we don't have a Derrick Henry yet, and people love to bring that up constantly in the comments. That'll change soon. There's going to be a plan there. There's a couple good running backs that I've been touting in the draft. Najee Harris is my guy from Alabama. I think he's the dream scenario.
I saw your tweet earlier today.
But if not Najee, because again, he might not make it to that second-round pick, that early second-round pick. I think he can, but he might not. Javonte Williams from North Carolina is not a bad consolation prize. And there's a lot of reasons that fit makes sense. I mean, one, he went to North Carolina. Arthur Smith is a North Carolina alum, so he's going to know Javonte Williams probably better than most coaches in the NFL. Kid's not even 21 yet. And, man, you look at Pro Football Focus grades for him as far as pass blocking, which is crucial for running backs. He's been tops, and that's big. So, Arthur Smith's going to bring a run game. He's going to bring play action, and that's going to elevate the Falcons offense almost instantly. And again, he's running an offense that is very similar to that Kyle Shanahan offense when the Falcons went to the Super Bowl. So that's kind of the third reason why, in my mind, Arthur Smith was the ideal fit. He wasn't my top choice. I will say Brandon Staley was my top choice, but Arthur Smith was close second. And again, I think he's the best fit because of the offense and because a lot of the personnel that the Falcons have there, which I guess could bring us into, a topic of, what the Falcons are going to do with Matt Ryan. Part of the reason I think Arthur Smith was the ideal fit was because, again, Matt Ryan was an MVP in Kyle Shanahan's offense. Arthur Smith's running almost a carbon copy of that offense. So, look, I think Matt Ryan's here for a couple more years.
You hear from him.
We'll see. With a new regime, you never know what they're thinking, and this is certainly a good quarterback class. But again, I think Arthur Smith knows, what he can get from Matt Ryan. And there's also this expectation, I think, too. If you hear Rich McKay, you hear Arthur Blank say it, they still want to win right now. Yes, the future is important. You always have to have an eye on the future and you want sustained success, but they also want to win right now. And I think, Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot know they can win right now. I mean, you just rewind back to the season we just had in 2020 and how many games the Falcons were leading late in that ball game, and they let it slip away because, the former coaching staff didn't really know how to finish ball games, didn't really know how to make those small adjustments that they needed to make when things were starting to get away from them. I don't think that's going to be an issue for this coaching staff, especially, with the defensive side of the ball, the veteran guys that they've brought in on that defensive staff. That's why I'm very high on this new regime, and I'm very bullish that they can turn this around very quickly in 2021.
Oh man. If y'all didn't understand what he just said, we have a saying in AFN here. We simplify exactly what you said in 4 words. What we say, Mike? Run the damn ball.
Yeah,
That's what
they're gonna do that. They're gonna do that.
So before we get to the next question, I'm gonna go ahead and shout out some of the folks that's in this chat already. Like I said, we got Mr. Utah Sports in the building. We got ATM 3405, Corey the God, Terror Artist 404. What's going on, man? Happy belated birthday, brother. Tony Wright in here. We got Asia Green. And we're going to do one more. We're going to say Cartier Walker's in here. If I ain't said your name, it's going to come up later on because we still got to get to these questions. We got to pick this man's brain right here. All right, Matt. So the second question, the question I have for you, man, is pertaining to this NFL draft, what do you think the Falcons should do with this 4th pick?
I mean, for me, I'm captain trade down. I think, again, that's kind of the hashtag I've been using for it. I think they're in a position where, again, you're, regardless of what you think of Matt Ryan and Julio Jones and how much Julio Jones has left in the tank, they're kind of locked in from a financial standpoint with that. So again, you got 2 marquee players, 2 marquee positions. You have a secondary receiver in Calvin Ridley who kind of took that next step. You started building up an offensive line. Defense, you have Grady Jarrett, Deion Jones with his contract. I don't think you can get out of it if you even wanted to. But again, I think Deion Jones in Dean Pease' system, Dean Pease is going to, he's going to let those dogs loose as far as getting after the quarterback and bringing pressure. So I think Deion is going to flourish with his speed in that role. AJ Terrell, he showed he can be a piece. What I'm getting at here is, they have parts, they have ingredients of a roster, but I think they can build it up more. And when you're picking at 4 and you don't necessarily need to take a quarterback or some of the other positions that are available, like receiver, this is a top-heavy receiver with Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle. They don't necessarily need those guys, but some other teams below them might want one of those guys. So, that 4th pick is very valuable right now. And I think that's only increasing in value when you see a team like the Philadelphia Eagles trade their quarterback and Carson Wentz. And now maybe they're in the discussion for a quarterback, or they want to definitely get one of those receivers. So for me, I would exhaust all possibilities of a trade down. I'd call every single team, picking from 6, which is the Eagles right now, all the way to, 18 in that range, and see, who really wants to come up, who really wants a quarterback or a receiver, or maybe Penny Sewell, which, if I was shifting the conversation, if you can't get a trade down, because again, it takes 2 to tango and you might not find a trade partner. Penny Sewell right now is who I've kind of identified as the option if you're going to stay put at 4, I think. Now, again, that might change. More information comes out. Draft season's always, the opinions change sometimes as you get more information. But, protecting the quarterback, protecting your franchise quarterback, it starts in the trenches. This game starts in the trenches. And they even made a point of saying that. Both Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot in their press conference, they said they want to get better up front. They want to get nastier, and there might not be a nastier dude than Penny Sewell in this O-line class. And not only is he nasty, but I think he's got those generational traits that can be a future All-Pro consistently year in and year out. Now, again, the question with Penny Sewell is, well, he was a left tackle in college. Falcons have a pretty good left tackle in Jake Matthews. What do you do there?
Right.
I'd leave it to the professionals too. The coaching staff will figure that out. I think that's a good problem to have. And I mean, if it was me, if you're asking me, I'd probably put Penei Sewell left guard. Penei Sewell was a guard in high school, and if you look at some recruiting websites, he was highly ranked as a guard. He wasn't ranked as a tackle. So that's a position I think he can play. And honestly, for this team, and if Matt Ryan is going to be their quarterback in 2021, it's more important to have the interior situated than the tackle situated, because a guy like Matt Ryan, he needs to be able to step up in that pocket. So you need to establish and solidify the interior. And if you put Penei Sewell there, and Chris Lindstrom is starting to figure things out and become a pretty good football player, and I think then you put Matt Hennessy right in the middle with those two guys next to him, that's an interior offensive line that has some upside and some real potential to be, one of the better interior trios in football in the next couple of years. So, that's kind of where my head's at right now. If you can't orchestrate a trade, solidify your offensive line, because, the offensive line is the more important part of how the Falcons accomplish Arthur Smith's plan of establishing a run game and getting the run game going, which has been a problem the last couple of years. So if you get a guy like Penei Sewell to plug at left guard, and then he can eventually be the left tackle of the future when they do move on from Jake Matthews, I think there's tremendous value there. And even though people are going to scoff, you're going to draft a left guard at 4th overall. I mean, my question to you is, you think the Colts regretted taking Quentin Nelson at, I think it was 6th overall? No, they didn't regret that one bit. Right. One of the best offensive linemen in football right now. And really,
he really reminds me of Quentin Nelson, that physicality.
The way he gets after it and just pushes people. And yeah. So those are my two scenarios right now. If they can't get a trade down, take Penei Sewell. But I definitely think, if you're going to stay put, it's going to be an offensive position just because of, I think, where the value at 4 is. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean quarterback. It wouldn't shock me if they took Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida, because again, Hayden Hurst is only under contract for one more year. And Arthur Smith's big on the 12 personnel, 2 tight end set. Tweeted that out a month or so ago. He led.
You said everything that oh my gosh, you said
he led the entire NFL in 2 tight end sets last year. So Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst. Again, I know people will probably lose their minds over taking an offensive skill player, but you have to pick the guys where the draft says you need to pick them, like where the value is, and it's not a great defensive class early on. Like if you trade back, then it's a different story, because then there's some guys in that ballpark of the draft where defense makes sense. But picking at 4, and if you really are going to stay put, you got to take the best players in the draft, and the best players in the draft of this class right now is looking to be offensive players.
Absolutely. Wow. You essentially said everything that we've been preaching all along. What can
I say? I mean,
that's the issue. Actually did a film breakdown, and one of the things that stood out to me with Arthur Smith is that he loves to use 2 tight end sets, 2 tight end sets, 3 tight end sets, and this is a reason why. This is kind of me improvising a bit, but would it surprise you? And I know a lot of people in the chat, because I got a lot of hate for even mentioning this, but would it surprise you to see Calvin Ridley traded because of that in itself? Because Arthur Smith, he may not, this is one thing that a lot of people may not understand. When coaches come to a new team, he may not want a Julio Jones. He may not want a Calvin Ridley. He may want to build his offense the way he wants to build it. Yes, Calvin Ridley is one of the best receivers in the game right now, and he's going to make a lot of money. But would it surprise you to see Calvin Ridley traded? Because there are some flaws in his game that I think that is a huge problem in my which is one, if you're going to play in an offense with Arthur Smith, you're going to have to block and you're going to have to get physical. Calvin Ridley is not a physical receiver. Yeah. He's not a physical receiver. So would it surprise you to see that happen?
It would surprise me because of the fact that, again, what he does so well is very important in today's NFL. And that's just being able to beat man coverage, get open one-on-one. And there's not many better than him at that. You know, I totally agree with what you're saying. He's not a physical player. And I've been really hard on him this past season when it comes to that. There's the physicality at the catch point that he definitely needs to improve on. And then there's what he does when he has the ball in his hand. Sometimes it's comical. You know, how he just runs with chicken with his head cut off sometimes. He doesn't know what he's doing with it. And it's entertaining, but at the same time, it's infuriating too because, you know, he's losing yards by doing some of this stuff. So those two areas he needs to improve. But, yeah, I'd be shocked because, again, you know, they have to at least plan for the contingency that Julio Jones might not be around many more years. I don't, you know, think that's going to be the case because I always say when I come on shows and talk about Julio, you can't treat him like any other receiver. You can't compare him to any other receiver. So just because he hit age 32 last month, you know, he specifically, this is my theory on the topic, he specifically went and linked up with Terrell Owens to train with Terrell Owens because he saw what Terrell Owens did in his mid to late 30s in the NFL. And he wants to try to get some of that same knowledge and be in that same position. So I think, just like Matt Ryan, I think there's plenty of gas left in Julio's tank. And I don't think it's a major concern. But, you know, you always, with anything, you have to plan for contingencies because if Julio did have another injury-riddled season, then there's a real question of do we move on and try to, you know, sink money elsewhere. So with that in mind, I don't think you can part ways with Calvin Ridley unless like the return was just ridiculous. So yeah, it would shock me if that would happen.
It ain't gonna shock me. They don't need nobody cha-cha slide out there on the field. They got the forward.
Yeah, no, he definitely needs to work on that because again, when they announced like the Pro Bowl rosters, I know the Pro Bowl is a popularity contest, but I do think they kind of got it right, and I don't think Calvin Ridley is quite there yet, and it's because some of those things we just talked about. He needs to refine his game a little bit.
Right. Hey, Mike, you sure he ain't been on the show with us? Because all this stuff.
Like he's saying every word for word, you are saying exactly what we've been saying, almost word for word.
I love to hear it. Let me
get you guys' opinion. You want to get the next question, K Styles, because I think this is going to be interesting because he kind of put out a list earlier today on his Twitter. Yeah, hit that question. I know he's gonna enjoy this. So you guys, please follow Matt. I guarantee you will enjoy his Twitter account, man. List earlier today on his Twitter.
Okay, so all right, so as we talked about off air, free agency is upon us here very shortly.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is a good time of the year. What do you think would be the biggest position that we need to fill as far as getting this roster right?
There's two that come to mind immediately. You know, they need to do something with edge rusher. Really, all that they have under contract is Dante Fowler, and I'm not even sure how much longer that'll be for because I think, you know, and this is my theory, and this is something I haven't put out yet. So this is a Mad Mike Atlanta Falcons Nation exclusive.
Whoa, exclusive! Wow.
I think right now their next order of business that they're working on is trying to negotiate a pay cut for Dante Fowler. seeing if him and his representation is willing to take it, because he's got $6 million of his $13 million base salary already guaranteed. That additional $7 million becomes fully guaranteed on March 21st. That's 5 days after free agency starts. I don't think the Falcons want that to be locked in. But I also don't think they want to go completely barren at defensive end heading into free agency and heading into the draft. I think they probably prefer to have Dante Fowler there and see maybe Dean Pease can squeeze some production out of him that we didn't get from him last year. So I think that's their number one priority. If they can get a pay cut, again, the $6 million is locked in, but if they can maybe save 5 of that 7 and say, hey, Dante, we'll give you $8 million as a base salary, but that other 5 you're going to have to earn it in incentives. And the way incentives usually work is they don't hit the cap unless the player earns them, which wouldn't happen until after the season. So that's what I'm thinking the Falcons want to do. If he says no, then I think they're going to make him a post-June 1 cut, which means they really wouldn't get the savings until June, but they can use that on a draft class. So it would still be worthwhile. But in any event, Dante Fowler on the roster or not, they have to do something at defensive end or pass rusher, edge rusher. Carl Lawson's the dream. For me, he's my number one guy in free agency. The pass rusher from Cincinnati, been long overlooked, was overlooked in the draft, which is the reason he was taken in the 4th round. I think he might even be overlooked in free agency now. I don't know what his market's going to be. He's had some injury issues, but I don't think it's anything concerning from a long-term standpoint. Like, I don't know if it's a Tack situation where Tack, had the lingering injuries and it just unfortunately kept him from the field. I think you're going to see a situation where, Lawson's going to sign a pretty reasonable deal and, he's going to blow up and he's going to make whoever signs him, a very smart man. Falcons, in order to make it work, they have to backload it. So, I've been playing around with the numbers and, they can get him, on what looks like a $10 million a year average or even $13 million a year average annual salary deal, but they can have a year 1 cap hit of like $5 to $6 million so that they can fit it under the cap in 2021. That's the dream. It is probably unlikely because anything I want usually in free agency doesn't particularly happen unless maybe your name's Darqueze Dennard, and that was just kind of a mid-tier signing. But a signing that panned out, and I would love Darqueze Dennard back, I think, in a Logan Ryan-esque role, like Logan was in Tennessee with Dean Pease. I think Darqueze can fit that same role. So I'd like him back. But, edge rusher, a couple other names I listed. Mike kind of alluded to the list that I put out yesterday at edge rusher. You got Trey Hendrickson from New Orleans. You got Romeo Okwara from Detroit. Terrell Basham, who I think is probably most likely the edge rusher from the New York Jets. Falcons hired the Jets linebacker coach, Frank Bush, who was also the interim defensive coordinator at the end of the year. So I think there's a connection there. And Terrell Basham is probably a name to write down that could very well happen. A guy who I think, again, you should set your expectations reasonable. He's kind of a he's definitely not a 1A or 1B pass rusher, but certainly a guy in a rotation, can do some nice things and certainly bolster it. And then another name that I think is very likely is Kamale Correa. He's been on Baltimore. He's been on Tennessee, both of which Dean Pease was on. Again, he's going to be like a vet min type signing, but he had his best years under Dean Pease, a guy that can maybe get you 2, 3, 4 sacks. Again, nothing splashy, but certainly, guys to add to the rotation that know the system and play best in the system. The other position group is safety. Falcons cut Ricardo Allen last week or 2 weeks ago, and Keanu Neal, as everyone knows, is an impending free agent. They don't have a lot of safety either, so they have to do something there. And the great news is this is a great free agency class for safeties. There's like 15, 16 guys on the free agent market at safety. The two names that I've touted that I think makes sense from a scheme standpoint, it makes sense from a money standpoint. The number one guy is Malik Hooker. Malik Hooker, former first-round pick, Indianapolis Colts, Ohio State Buckeye. You know, it's kind of well documented. Terry Fontenot and the Saints love Ohio State Buckeye defensive backs. They took Marshawn Lattimore. They took Malcolm Jenkins. They took Von Bell. So he has a thing for Ohio State defensive backs. Malik Hooker is going to be a buy low type of guy because of the injuries. And that's the concern. But again, you're going to get him at a very favorable price tag. And it's a big if, but if he's healthy, that's a top flight safety. You know, that's a guy that has, you know, Ed Reed to him as far as just instincts and flying around and making plays on the ball from a single high spot, which again, there's some questions on how much single high is DNP is going to run. DNP said in his press conference, he's going to fit the talent he has, the scheme, or he's going to fit the scheme to the talent he has. Mm-hmm. So Malik Hooker is a guy that, again, if Carl Lawson's like my number one want, Malik Hooker's, you know, number two, but I think he's more reasonable because I don't think he's going to cost that much because of the injuries. Like I think 1 year, $3 million or $4 million tops is what he's gonna warrant because of the injuries. And man, if again the talent's there, it's not a question of talent. It's just, is he healthy enough? So. The other name, too, is Trey Boston. Trey Boston was just let go by the Panthers, and he's kind of like – and I said this on Twitter. He's like the Brandon Cooks of the safety market. I think Trey Boston's a pretty good player, but he's going to be on like his fourth or fifth team, and he's not even 30 years old yet. And I just it's bad timing, and there's just been some variables that have worked against him as far as like the safety market being reduced or, you know – in Carolina's case, I think, you know, they're trying to create salary cap space to do something that none of us want them to do, which is make a play for Deshaun Watson. So I just think he was a victim of that. But a guy who's been a very good safety for the majority of his career, and I think fits, you know, the too high game that DNP's has been notorious for. So, you know, if the Falcons were heading into the draft with Trey Boston and Malik Hooker as their safeties, then it wouldn't allow them to go out and like, you know, reach for a safety in the draft because it's not a great safety class. There's a couple guys I like, but I mean, I'd be okay with that. I don't know what they're going to do with Keanu Neal. I'd love Keanu Neal back. I think he can fit in DNP's scheme, especially when, you know, the one notable takeaway other than, you know, well, there was a few in DNP's press conference. I thought his press conference was awesome. Hopefully you guys watched that. Yeah. But he also mentioned how he loved the run and hit ability that the Falcons already have. Mm-hmm. And there's not a better run and hit player on this Falcons defense than Keanu Neal. So that's part of why I think they're going to make a strong play for him. I just think it comes down to the money because there's going to be so many suitors for him. I mean, you look at
the question: do you franchise tag Keanu Neal? You ran right into the question.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the franchise tag, I believe, for safeties is $9 or $10 million. It's one of the lower ones, so I mean, they have that going for them. I just don't think that they can afford to have another cap hit of that nature on the books. So I don't think they're going to franchise tag anybody, but I think there is a good shot. I still put it less than 50. It's maybe like 40, 60, 40 that they bring him back, 60 that they don't. Mm-hmm. But I think they're going to try to bring Keanu Neal back. Because again, I do think, you know, good football players are good football players. And Keanu's one of the few that I think you can say Falcons defense has, you know, there's no question about it. You have Grady Jarrett, you have Deion Jones, AJ Terrell's getting there. Keanu Neal's also in that realm, and I think letting too many good football players go if you don't have to. Because again, the safety market is one of the easiest position groups I think to exploit because it's, you know, it hasn't been inflated. So I think I've been thinking you can get Keanu Neal for a 4-year, $30 million deal, and again, his first year cap hit can be $4 million. And if you can get his first year cap hit to be $4 million when last year was in the 6 to 7 range, I think you try to make that work. So that's one of the biggest question marks that I'll be watching closest is how much of an effort do they make to bring him back?
Hey man, the chat is rising, man. I think they love Mr. Karoly. Hey man, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm about to say we might well get some of these comments out the way.
They want to pick your brain just a little bit. We have a couple more questions, but
let's fire away.
Love you, man. Just go ahead and get some questions.
Yeah, man, we got a few questions here. We got Esperanza Class to ask you, should we cut Kendall Sheffield? Yeah, he went straight to the
he certainly didn't play well last year. You don't cut him just because his contract, he's on a rookie deal. You don't get much savings by cutting a player on a rookie deal. So I think you bring him back. I certainly don't think he's going to be in the running. I mean, he's going to be in the competition, but I don't think he's going to be a threat to be a starting safety. I think he's got to work his way back up. He'll be on, his speed will be used on special teams. That was the one thing I saw him that I could say good things about him is using his speed as a gunner on the punt coverage team. That flashed. So, again, he's probably the 4th or 5th cornerback going into 2021, but there's not much savings to be had or benefit to moving on from him. So let him, see what he can do under this new staff. And, at the very least, he's an asset on special teams. I know that's
that was harsh.
For a high
way possible. That was harsh.
They got relegated to gunner duty.
Hey, man, he relegated himself with his play this past year. It wasn't me. I'm just telling the facts.
Oh, man. I'm glad you said gunner because I was going to just say equipment manager, but I'm just throwing my hands up on it. We got some more questions in here, man. Like I said, we got Big Country Low Sports in the building. Big Low, what's happening? We got Corey the guy said, he said, do you keep tired girls?
That's a thumbs down. For those that are already familiar with me before tonight, I mean, I didn't want Todd Gurley on the team heading into 2020. I knew his knees were shot, and again, he did some decent things early on in the season, but it wasn't even Dirk Cutter's offense. He just doesn't have the juice anymore, and I'll be shocked if. I think he's going to get the Devontae Freeman treatment. I'll be shocked if he's playing on a team for anything more than vet min or around vet min. I know he's a former Offensive Player of the Year candidate, but those years are far removed. And I just think it's unfortunate what happened to his knees. And no one I guess we know it's arthritis, but just the way it happened was just so quickly. And I don't think he's worth keeping around, unfortunately.
Yeah,
for all the UGA fans out there, I'm sorry. Or not sorry.
That's just so sad that you say that because he say his best days is behind him and he's only 26.
I know that's the sad part about it.
Oh my goodness!
Really
wow.
Football is a tough sport. Like that's why appreciate these players while you got them, and don't at them with nonsense on Twitter because.
Oh man!
And they put their bodies through hell for our entertainment.
Absolutely. We kind of went over this as far as the running backs for the draft. You kind of say Javonte. Well, I want to say Devontae, but Javonte. Do you have anyone else that, as far as running back? I personally, I don't know. What is Kylie Hill?
Kylan Hill from
Kylan Hill,
State, I think. Yeah.
What do you think of it?
Yeah, depending where where you're getting him, but 4th round maybe. He's in that mix. If again with Najee, he's a round 1, round 2 guy. Javonte Williams is a round 2, round 3 guy. And then if you're going to wait till day 3, which maybe they do, you got Kylan Hills of the world. You got Trey Sermon, Ohio State guy who ran for like 300 yards in the Big Ten title game, set a record. You know, he's going to be on the radar. I think his name's Stevenson from Oklahoma.
Oh my God, I love
he's
him.
240.
I love him.
You know, he's obviously going to be a match because of the Derrick Henry probably comparisons there, similar body types. I haven't delved too deep into any of the others. You know, Michael Carter's a name. He's the other North Carolina, but I think he's too similar to Ito Smith. So that's kind of why I'm out on Michael Carter. But I think, you know, because again, I think Ito Smith still has a role. He is only got 1 year left on his deal, but I do think he's going to fit and play a role for Arthur Smith. So again, to bring in a redundant type of player in Michael Carter, I'd rather get a bigger bell cow like Javonte or Najee, or again Kylan Hill is a bell cow. Trey Sermon could be a bell cow. Stevenson could be a bell cow. So, another name, Chuba Hubbard, who was in, the conversation for a 2nd round pick heading into 2020, kind of his stock just bottomed out and did not have a good season. And again, one of the questions I'm sure, is, that these evaluators are going to ask themselves is how much of playing in pandemic football, contributed to these guys kind of their stock falling. So, and I think in Chuba's case, that's a legitimate question because, he certainly was, again, in the conversation with one of the better running backs in football after he had a 2,000-yard season in 2019. So he's a guy that's probably going to be, late day 2, early day 3, and maybe, Falcons look at him. So you can always find running backs. That's the whole argument that, maybe drafting one early isn't smart, but there's just so much to love about Najee, not just, the football side of it, but I think him off the field, he's a guy that can be a franchise cornerstone player that he's the face, he's one of the faces of the franchise, and you can feel very good about that. And he can get up on a microphone and display confidence. And there's nothing I don't like about him. So that's why he's kind of one of my guys. But certainly if Javonte Williams was the guy, feel pretty good about that too.
Okay. I like that. Hey, like I said, we don't need to reach this year. We can't afford anybody.
That's right. And again, that's part of why I think trading down makes a lot of sense, because you have more dart throws and you don't necessarily need to reach. You can just take football players and you have more shots at hitting on them and building up this roster. So again, that's where I want them to go. But whether they go in that direction, I mean, no one knows at this point.
All right. So I'm about to say I got another question for you.
All right.
I know we talked about this salary cap situation. We got the $5 and we trying to go to Walmart $50 worth of $5. Hey man, how we gonna make it work, man? In your eyes, how we gonna make that work? How do we get it?
So, a lot of it's going to be in the form of restructuring, in my opinion. And again, we have a general manager here in Terry Fontenot who came over from New Orleans, and New Orleans, made a habit of, doing cap gymnastics and cap voodoo and witchcraft. And, they kicked the can down the road, but, you're telling me you wouldn't want to been in the Saints position the last couple of years, having 4 cracks at getting to a Super Bowl, and they went all in. I'm absolutely for that because, again, as I talked about at the top of the show, I think they do have a pretty good core group to build from. And, they were competitive in 2020. Their record might not show it, but
right.
For people that didn't tune in and lived under a rock, they'd be like, yeah, 4-12, the Falcons were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
They're one of the more misleading 4-12 teams that probably ever existed in NFL history.
Right.
Because they should have won probably 5 of those games, and I don't even think that's a stretch or a reach.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about a 9-7 team that's picking 4th overall. That doesn't happen. So, I'm okay, worrying about tomorrow's problems tomorrow. So, when I say that, I mean, free up the space you need to with the guys that you feel good about. And again, I feel good about Matt Ryan. I'm confident that they do as well. Again, you watch the film, Matt Ryan played pretty dang well. Pro Football Focus supports it. The eye test supports it. Yes, he had those throws in that Chargers game that he would like to have back. But look, you're going to judge a man off of a few throws? Come on.
Right. Yeah.
I think, they're okay about Julio Jones. Again, his body of work should speak for itself. He's going to get himself right. You definitely feel good about Grady Jarrett coming off another Pro Bowl season, one of the best interior defensive linemen in football. You can kick the can down the road a little bit with him. Jake Matthews gets too much crap online. Yes, he had a hold in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Hey, let's get over that. Jake Matthews is a consistently good left tackle, and those are not easy to come by. Feel good about him. And then lastly, Deion Jones. Again, especially in this defense, I'm okay, riding it out with Deion Jones. There's some aspects of Deion Jones' game where I've been critical of as far as, again, against the run. He's not a guy you want taking on blockers because of his size. You want him as free as possible to use his speed. So, I don't think he's ever going to be considered a Bobby Wagner or Luke Kuechly or, one of the better linebackers in football because he just doesn't have that all-around aspect of his game. But what he does well fits in today's NFL with the coverage and the speed. So I'm okay riding with him. So, again, those are 5 players. 5 players I mentioned. I got my cap sheet up here. If they did the max restructure, they can save over $40 million.
Wow. $40 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, you're pushing the guaranteed money down the road, so then it becomes harder to move on from him. But what people got to remember about all that is the NFL is close to, if they didn't already, I think, agree to it, a huge TV deal. Going to bring tons of money into the NFL. The salary cap is going to get back up to rising levels. If not next year, the year after, you're going to be in the $200+ million. So you kind of have a little bit more wiggle room, I think, to push this money down there, as opposed to this year where it's looking like the salary cap's going to be in the 185 million range, which is 13 million less than this past year, which usually is not how it works. It continues to go up. This, because of the pandemic, it's going to go down. But if you save that 40 million, and then they still got a few other cuts to make, I think they're going to move on from James Carpenter. But that's why I talked about, the whole Dante Fowler situation, because if they can't work out a pay cut with him and they got to make him a post-June 1 cut, then that'll, I think, affect decisions with, do we make James Carpenter just a regular cut, or do we make him a post-June 1 cut to create more cap space? So in any event, I think Carpenter is going to be gone. You can save another 2.5 there. And then the last one, I think, is Tyler Davison, which see what happens. He is a former Saint, so maybe Terry Fontenot likes him. I don't know, but I think with nose tackles, I'm not big on paying nose tackles. 2-down player, you can get those guys, on the bargain bin for vet men. So with all of that in mind, the Falcons could have 36 million in cap space with 27 players under contract. So they have to fill out the other half of their roster. But you can do that again if you backload contracts and make the year 1 cap hits on some of your signing, as low as possible, 4 or 5 million with guys like Lawson or Neal or Malik Hooker.
What about
decent player.
Is an interesting one also because his contract will be up soon. What do you do about Foye Oluokun? Do you think they'll be able to sign him to a long-term deal?
Yeah, I think it'll probably have to wait till next offseason. But I do think, I think his future in Atlanta, I feel pretty good about it. I mean, we'll see what happens in the draft. We'll see if they add any linebackers. We'll see what Michael Walker's role is because I do think Michael Walker is going to play more on the edge a little bit. He did that a lot at Fresno State.
Right.
And, again, this is going to look more like a 3-4, although, Falcons defense was sort of a 3-4 already, and a lot of people didn't know it. But
I swear, you sure you haven't been watching our shows? Like, seriously, have you? Like, everything that you're saying,
we're 2 days in a pod. That's all, man. That's all. We're just –
my goodness.
So, we'll see what happens. But I do think Foye Oluokun next offseason we could be talking about a contract. I just think at this point they got some other things they need to worry about, obviously. And since he's got 1 year, and he actually – the thing with Foye is – he is already getting a little bit of a pay bump already, so he should be pretty happy.
Right.
There's this thing called the proven performance escalators.
Right.
And if you're I believe it's a 3rd through 6th round pick or 3rd through 7th round pick, and if you play a certain number of snaps in your first couple years, you're due for a pay bump in year 4, which Foye got, Russell Gage got, and I know probably some fans listening aren't going to like this, but Isaiah Oliver also got that, whether he earned it or not. But what I will say about Isaiah Oliver, when he transitioned into the slot, I think he found a home in the slot, and I'm curious to see what Dean Pease feels because I think he'll probably keep him in the slot there too. And, again, if they don't bring Denard back, maybe Isaiah Oliver plays that Logan Ryan role that, Logan did for Tennessee when Dean was there. So, yeah, I mean, he's definitely taken his lumps on Twitter, and a lot of it deserved. But that's what you get when you you reach for needs sometimes. And I wish they would have taken Carlton Davis. I thought Carlton Davis fit much better with what Dan Quinn wanted with physical. Like when you watched Isaiah Oliver at college, I didn't see the physicality enough.
Right, he didn't have the physicality.
Like he had the length and stuff, and those types of things that you want. But I love physical corners. I love corners with swagger, and Carlton Davis had that, and people are starting to see that now with Tampa Bay Super Bowl champs. I mean, he definitely got his spotlight in the playoffs, and definitely earned it. But yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm thinking. As far as again, it's got to be this way if they're gonna make some signings, they got to do the restructures, and I don't think they're gonna have a problem doing it because again, Terry Fontenot he's coming over from New Orleans, and they kind of made their mark in that, and it worked out well for them. Sure, now they're scrambling to figure out what to do, but that's kind of what happens when you go all in, and they had 4 cracks at it, and we're all happy that they swung and missed on all 4 of them, but they were at least in the position, and I think we would love to be in that position to go all in again and have 4 more cracks at winning a Super Bowl. So we'll see if they do it or not. Because again, if they do these max restructures, I think they're gonna be in a reload situation instead of a rebuild, which some people think they might be rebuilding, but that'll we'll kind of have a better picture of that when they kind of do some of these moves in these next couple of weeks leading up to free agency. So we'll see.
Hey man,
he pretty much. I'm about to say, let's get in a couple more of these questions. If folks coming in with the questions, there was a question earlier that came up. I didn't highlight it, but it was basically talking about Jalen Hawkins. What's your take on him?
I'm thinking he's still going to be in a backup role. I mean, it all comes down to if they bring Keanu Neal back. Obviously, he's definitely going to be in a backup role.
Right.
If they don't bring Keanu Neal back, again, I guess keep your eyes on what they do in free agency. Because if they do sign, 2 guys like Hooker in Boston, again, I would think Hawkins then still in a backup role. And the thing with Hawkins too is he didn't even carve out much of a role on a lot of the special teams. So, it'll be interesting if he does that, because that's his best way to making the team. But I do think this transition to Dean Pease fits him even more, because I think at Cal, he did a lot of too high with him and Ashton Davis. So he's got some versatility, again, to be a good backup. And if you get anything more from him, then that's just kind of gravy at that point.
Right.
And there was one more I want you to hit up too. It was by David M. He was basically saying past this season, if you had to choose between Deion Jones and Foye Oluokun, who would you choose out of these two?
Great question.
Why would you do that?
That's a great question. And my answer might shock some people or might make some people mad, but I'm going Foye.
Oh!
Yeah, again, I think Foye has more of the makeup of a complete linebacker. Again, I kind of touched on it a little bit, but Deion Jones, if he's blocked up, like he can be blocked up pretty easily. Foye, not so much. Mm-hmm. Both have the speed, both check that box. And I just think Foye's instincts too are
much better. Yeah.
And he can rush the passer as well. Like Foye can do it all. Like Foye really came alive. Like he was one of those guys this past year that, yes, it was a down season, 4-12, but he really took that next step. And another thing with Deion Jones is, when the Falcons were going through the turmoil that they were, in 2018, 2019, and 2020, they needed a voice. They needed a guy to kind of rally the troops. Mm-hmm. And they need that even more now that Ricardo Allen's not there.
We didn't get that from Deion. That's something that we got none of that from Deion. So I agree.
You need that from a middle linebacker.
Right.
So, and I think Foye, again, there's still some room for improvement, but there's some clips you see of Foye, and I think he can be that guy. So, that's why when I was talking about guys to kick the can down the road, I'm somewhat hesitant to do it for a guy like Deion Jones, because when Mike, you asked the question about is a contract extension in Foye's future, well, if you push Deion Jones guaranteed money down the road, it hurts that answer a little bit, because again, you don't want to tie too much money into the same position, especially when one might be better than the other. So I think for me, if forced to choose, I want Foye, and that's why, again, if of the 5 guys I talked about restructuring, I'd rather not restructure Deion Jones. Let him play out this year, and then let's see where the money stands next year, and then maybe you move on from Deion Jones and you have Foye Oluokun, and say the Falcons drafted a guy like Jacoby Stevens maybe from LSU, who's kind of a hybrid type of player, very similar maybe to Deion Jones. Replace Deion Jones with someone like that. So, I know Deion's got a fan base, and I know why. He's made some splash plays in his career. I mean, the fact that he has like 5 pick sixes, that's impressive. But it's more than just the splash plays that make a good football player.
Exactly.
Down to down, snap to snap. Foye kind of outplayed him at times.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely agree, and that's one of the main reasons why me personally, if forced to choose, I totally agree with you as far as Foye Oluokun is concerned. It's like if you go back to the Dallas games, like the Dallas game was a perfect example of him completely outshining Deion. Like Deion is a great instinctual player. I don't think you can get good coverage out of Deion. You can do a little bit more, maybe not more things.
But you can get the good coverage. Like I don't think you're losing much if Deion was off the field and you had Foye on there, because Foye can give you the coverage. Maybe Deion's a tick faster. That's basically all you can say. that Deion has over Foy. So it's certainly a good question, though, because, again, I think it's a question that the Falcons are going to have to answer next offseason.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cause boy, he went against his high school teammate and Ezekiel Elliott and
he showed out. He really did show out. That was a great game.
He made Zeke look silly and embarrassed him with all those.
Right.
That boy went to the Peanut Tillman School of Forced Fumbles, boy. I tell you that much.
So with that being said, we're gonna get to closing the show. But man, we still got 117. Good God, it was a good show, man. Like I said, this was a show for, everyone to understand that, like, it's not so much about the highlights. I know everybody wants the great player, everybody wants the flashy players, but we want to get to, for our audience and just Atlanta Falcons fans, we want to teach these guys about the small, intricate details, the salary cap, and what to look for in coaching, and these types of things. So having you on was something that I had to do, and like I said, I was a long time follower. Of you guys, Aaron Freeman and Matt Karoly. These guys are excellent. Like I said, me personally, I think he's the best numbers guys when it comes down to the Falcons. Content creators, he's number one. So if you want numbers, you want the absolute truth about the numbers, because 80-90% of the times Matt is always on it when it comes down to these numbers. So Matt, if you have anything that you want to get off, you want to promote, you want to tell the fans, because I know it's a lot of people. 100, like I said, dang, we went up to 123, so they don't want you to go. So you might have to come back again.
I'm happy to come back again. It's been a blast, guys. I don't really have much to promote. I'm a free agent right now. Just enjoying coming on shows like this. Hopefully, it's first of many appearances on the show. But again, you can catch me on Twitter at Matt Karoly, Karoly. Certainly, as we get closer and closer to free agency, as Mike said, I love talking about the numbers. So I'll be kind of keeping you guys informed of where the Falcons stand from a salary cap standpoint. And again, this is one of the best times of the year. I feel like free agency, draft coming up. It's got it all. So we'll see what the Falcons do. I mean, again, new regime, but regime that I'm very high on, and I think they can get this turned around in the right direction as early as 2021. So I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to talking about it with you on Twitter.
Absolutely. So, K-Styles, you got anything you want to keep going? K-Styles, you want to keep going? And Matt, I'm gonna
duck out. But again, guys, appreciate you having me. Let's do this again real soon. All right.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate you coming on.
All right. Take care, guys.
Yes, sir.
All right, man.
Woo! Hey, man. That right there was informative. Everything that we've been saying for the past year or so, probably longer. This is the reason why we have guys like Matt Karoly on. These guys follow the Atlanta Falcons. They love the Atlanta Falcons just as much as we do. And we want to give you guys nothing but the facts, the stats, and the truth. And this is the reason why we bring guys on like this, because you tired of hearing our voice. I know you're tired. I know you're probably sick and tired of hearing us, but this is what we do, man. We want to give you guys nothing but the truth. So, K-Style, you see some comments in here?
Man, so pretty much he answered everything else we got here. Pretty well, like I said, it's pretty much nothing really there. He pretty much answered everything.
He got everything.
Outside of Esperanza trolling talking about I like Tat McKinley and free agency.
Oh no. We don't eat Tweety Bird. No. We're not doing that.
I do got one question. I was just looking at something here. I'm looking at Bleacher Report, and why are they linking the Falcons to Le'Veon Bell?
Man, we don't want that. Oh, we might as well keep damn Todd Galloway. We'll get him. That's just beat up the head. Like what? Come on, man! Don't do that to us.
Well, he said we don't want no more old running. We don't want
no more old running backs.
No more retread running backs.
No, absolutely not.
Lord have mercy, boy. You might well bring Jamal Anderson out of retirement.
Whoa, that man said Jamal Anderson. Hold on. That man did not just say that.
What?
Hold on, Nathan. What the world?
Hold on.
That man said put Gunno at center. Man, what? You want to put Matt Gunno at center?
No.
That man said put Matt Gunno at center. No, I'm good with that one, man.
I think Hennessy would be all right at center, man.
Yeah,
like I said, Gano is just a plug and play wherever guy. Cause I know I saw somebody earlier say that Gano is a better right tackle than he is a left guard.
Right.
I couldn't tell. Hell, he was damn playing his ass off. He
was playing well. I think Gano is a guy, like you said, they're one of them plug and play guys that every team needs, and like I will bring him back just on that basis, on that premise alone. So, yeah, I like Gano. I think he would definitely be someone that Arthur Smith would like. I think honestly, another point is that the Falcons at this point, they're going to go to a run first. They're going to go to a run first. They're going to go to a run first offense. They're going to use a lot of. Go ahead.
This dude said that Le'Veon Bell reminds him of a Tecmo Super Bowl player.
Why? All you can do is go straight.
He just
go straight.
He put a pattern at the line of scrimmage. Oh my God, yeah. Oh man, let's see. But what would you say? I just had to get that out. Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on. There's one more question in here. Tony Wright asked. He asked, "We trade down and our draft look like this: the first round switch, 2 second rounder, 2 third round, 4th rounder, no 5th rounder, traded 6, no 7th round, first round pick 2020." Like, good Lord, that's a lot of damn picks.
That's a lot of picks. If we can get that, I'm okay with that. But again, this is probably like the second or third person that we've had on. We had Will McFadden on. He pretty much, said the exact same thing. Just at this point, the financial, like this is all about financially what's best for the team, and drafting a quarterback financially just doesn't make any sense for the Atlanta Falcons. If they were to do it, you're essentially saying that, you're blowing up the team. And the closer that it gets to free agency, the closer that it gets to the draft, is more and more likely that a rebuild won't happen. And that's just the honest truth. Like, we don't know, like we haven't done anything. Like, we haven't done anything. The only thing that we've really done is get, you cut Ricardo Allen and you cut Bailey. That's pretty much it. So, hey man, I still think it's going to be a trade down. I still think it's going to be a trade down. It's just the best. And like I said, Matt Karoly is one of the best. He's one of the best, if not the best, cap guy, numbers guy when it comes down to Falcons content creators. And like I said, you guys, please go check him out at Twitter. Hey man, I think we're gonna get to, we're gonna close the show. But K-Styles, we will be back. We'll definitely be back tomorrow. For kicking it with K-Styles, man. It's probably go ahead and promote that. Push that.
Yeah. We're gonna definitely kick it with K-Styles. Tonight was the interview with Matt. And like I said, this is what the tonight show is just gonna be on. So we're gonna kick it with K-Styles tomorrow. And I have something right here. This would explain the Falcons cap situation as we speak. I got something in my hand. You ready for it? This is all we can afford right now.
Robert Noodles. That's all we can afford. Robert Noodles.
But like we said, we appreciate everybody tuning in with us. Checking out. Hope y'all like the interview. Make sure y'all give the thumbs up on it.
Absolutely.
Definitely, like I said, just make sure you subscribe and follow to the Just K-Styles channel. Hey man, I'm up to I'm 23 away from 200. Like I said, I'm trying to get in the game with everybody else on AFN. But hey, I enjoy doing all this right here. It's not even about that. It like I said, it's about chilling and chatting with y'all. Because at the end of the day, this is therapy for me. Just as I hope it's therapy for y'all as well.
Absolutely.
So make sure you subscribe to the Just K-Styles channel and also Atlanta Falcons Nation.
Absolutely.
That is important. We try to get to the 1K side of the game on that one.
Absolutely. Please help us with that, man. I guess I'll close with this question from Jerome Holmes. Man, Mike, I believe we need a top-notch tight end. Your thoughts? You can kind of go through the show again, but in case you guys don't want to do that, this is something that we've stated before, and one of the reasons why I said that we ain't got no damn money, okay? But one of the reasons why I said that I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if it were to happen, is because the Falcons just don't have a lot of money, and one of the cheaper alternatives to be, a top-notch offense with less money is you draft a tight end. Tight ends are a lot less expensive than receivers. So you draft a guy like Kyle Pitts, and you have Hayden Hurst. Those guys, they may cost you what, maybe $100 million to keep both of those guys, and then you can have a revolving door with a nice running game and a good offensive line. Like I said, I think that's something that you could definitely look in. It won't be pretty, it won't be exciting, but it'll be effective. I mean, you look at what the Ravens have done. You see what the Titans have done. These guys, just all they do is run tight ends. They run 2 tight end sets and they run the ball. That's it. That's all they do, and play good defense. So it won't be pretty, but I could definitely see the Falcons definitely do that. Hey man, they getting in on your damn your pork flavor.
Hey, we got pork, we got chili, we got good old fashioned beef. We got a whole bag of Hey, I'm about to say, I know I haven't seen this name in a while, Jarvis Williams. I'm sorry, I didn't see his tweet a while. He said a tweet a while back ago. He said he went to a restaurant. He went to a restaurant down in Warner Robins, and you know what they had on the menu?
No, man.
They had K-style chicken.
K-Style chicken. That's a thing? Golly.
Bruh. I'm look. I'm gonna send it to you in the chat personally so you can see this. He said that's the first. He said that's the first thing. he said, oh shit, they got K-Style chicken. Like, oh Lord.
Hey man, it is what it is. But appreciate you guys for tuning in, man. We will be back tomorrow. Is it 7 o'clock, K-Style?
We probably might push. Like I said, let me see. I might push it for 8. I might do 8.
Okay, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock tomorrow. Kicking it with K-Styles, myself, and you never know who's going to show up on Kicking It with K-Styles. So I know J-Rock is going to be there. You might get your boy. We might get our boy Jew. I think he's going to be in there also. So we will see. But outside of that, I thank you guys for tuning to us, man. This is what we do. Want to bring you guys nothing but the stats, fact, and the truth. And with that being said, K-Styles, they ain't got to go, but they got to
get the hell up out of here. And also make sure you get some tuna while you're at it.
That man got dinner everywhere.
Bro. Hold on. While you bullshit, bro, I got a whole bag here. I got noodles, rice, noodles. I
That man said got rice, everything. Yo, this dude here, man. Hey, the heavy hitters, man. That's what you get here.
I got a whole thing of tortillas. Shit.
Oh my God, man. Oh man.
You know I gotta make everybody laugh at least
every time. That's what you definitely gonna get entertained when you come here, man. So
exactly.
Man. Thank you guys for tuning in to us, but you ain't gotta go, but you gotta get the hell out of here, man. Appreciate it. Man. Peace.